Good morning, everyone. Welcome to the Early Edge. We are brought to you by BetMGM. Make it legendary. My name is Sia Nejad, and we've got a great show for you today. Let's see how we did yesterday, though. On the recap screen, 2-2. Buckets hits his soccer pick. Zach Simony hits his NBA prop. Jeff Hockman and Tom Casale end up losing theirs, but we go 2-2. Not a bad day. Certainly not a good day. Lydia's in here, Chris Kish, Thomas Mickles, Jeff Hatley, GAWD, Liam is in here. How about we bring in the stars of the show? And instead of going 2-2, maybe we'll go, 4-0, 5-0. We're certainly 3-0 right now. Buckets is going to join us in a second. We got Danny Brasco. We got Mikey B, and we've got the return of Mr. David Bearman. David, I start with you. How you doing today, buddy?
Doing good. Happy to be on. I know I had you on my podcast a few weeks ago. Happy to be on with you guys today, and hopefully we'll hit some home runs today.
Speaking of home runs, I've got a wild NFL take, an NFL MVP take that I definitely want, David, your opinion on, and Danny Brasco, your opinion as well. Buckets joining us. How are you today, sir?
I'm good, Sia. Having some technical issues, so if I'm a bit quiet or a bit blurry, please let me know. I can't do anything to fix it, but then I at least know that it looks bad still.
Well, you sound great, and you look wonderful as far as I'm concerned. Mikey B, you also look wonderful. You're donning that smile like you always are. How you doing today, buddy?
I'm good, thank you. Yeah, we have a very weird NBA slate tonight. A lot of potential blowouts, a lot of guys questionable. So this is going to be a be careful betting on the NBA early kind of day.
All right, that's good advice. Well, Buckets, you hit your pick yesterday, got us to 2-2. How about you start off the show with another winner?
Absolutely, Sia. I've been having to make some adjustments during the international break. I tend to be a high volume bettor. When I have a busy European slate, I can put out 10, 15 plays a day, no problem. But I've had to adapt to the slower leagues that we have right now. So I'm doing one bet, one cash a day, not trying to really rush it, but just trying to find the best value I can. And the best value I can find today is in the Women's Champions League. We've got Wolfsburg taking on Manchester United. And I really like how this Manchester United squad has been playing, but they've been playing well against teams that don't require a lot of effort yet. They haven't played one of the European giants. They beat teams like Paris and Vålerenga, but they haven't had to go against a team like Wolfsburg yet. I'm taking Wolfsburg over 1.5 team total at plus 100 here. Even money because Wolfsburg at home, they've got their starters back. They're in incredible form, and this Manchester United squad is tired because they're not used to having to play in a European competition as well as league play. We saw them struggle against Man City in league play over the weekend, and I just don't think they're quite ready to take on Wolfsburg yet. Take that team total up even money, Sia, and I'm expecting my one play to be one check mark tomorrow.
All right, we're expecting one check mark. Danny Brasco, I should have said hi to you on the front end. I was looking at a question, and it threw me off a little bit. It's from Richard Pierre. So we've got our soccer pick in, and I know you have UFC picks today, Danny Brasco, but Richard Pierre wants to know, how was the wedding and having to deal with UFC 322 being on and you not being able to watch it?
Dude, the prelims are kicking off. Immediately bangers all around the card. And I'm watching this guy do volare to like the most epic wedding intro ever. Is at the Hilton in Chicago, just adorned with white roses. Beautiful ceremony, but I'm there like watching violence when I can in between the screen, hoping someone's uncle doesn't yell at me. So I battled through. A lot of UFC fans were at the wedding. We were all just in the bathroom watching fights together, and it ended up being a really fun night. But yeah, I mean, tough stuff to battle through that. We made it work, Sia.
All right, we absolutely made it work. All right, David, I want to get you involved here. You've got a pick for Thursday Night Football, and you've got a pick for the NBA tonight. And, of course, Mikey B, you've got a couple of picks for the NBA as well. I'll tell you what, I'm going to give out my NFL MVP play, which is a crazy play that people are only going to be maybe modestly interested in. And I've got a pick for Thursday Night Football as well. But I'm going to do that, David, after you go, because I want to get your response to my play as well. So talk to me about James Cook and talk to me about VJ Edgecombe.
James Cook, his total going into tomorrow night is 74.5 rushing yards. And to be honest, you look at the Houston Texans defense, they're number 3 in the NFL at 87.1 yards per game allowed. Not one running back. That's not one running back has gotten 75 yards on this year. And that's a list that includes Kyron Williams, a healthy Bucky Irving, Derrick Henry, Kenneth Walker III, Christian McCaffrey, J.K. Dobbins, and Travis Etienne twice. Not one of them has gotten to 75. I know James Cook has had some good games recently. He has 5 games over 100 yards, but he also has 4 games of under 50 yards. He's a boomer bust type guy, and I just don't see him hitting 75 versus the 3rd best rush defense in the league. And Sia, in this exact spot last Thursday night, we had a very similar thing where we had Breece Hall against a really good Patriots defense, and he didn't hit his 58.5. We have another 17 to 18 yards we're working with tonight. Obviously a better running back, but he's not someone that I see getting 75 yards against a really good Texans defense.
All right, so we have James Cook under 74.5 rushing yards. Brasco, did you look at this game at all yet? I know that you might be saving that for tomorrow, but as it relates to James Cook or just the Texans now being 6-point underdogs, have you looked at this game?
I mean, we were looking at it on Monday's CBS Sports Network show, and the early look-ahead picks for anyone that caught that, all of us were liking, myself, you, and Mike, we're all liking the Bills minus 3.5 on the speculation that Stroud probably wouldn't clear concussion protocol. And even if he did, that the line was likely to move in their favor after Josh Allen's historic performance. Now we're looking at -6. So kicking myself a little bit, could have had amazing closing line value there. But if anything, I think the Bills could still roll in this game. So that's where I was thinking.
I think it's too many points personally at +6 at this point. David, before you give out BJ Edgecombe, do you have any sort of lean on the spread now that it's up to 6?
I agree with Danny that I liked it at 3.5. I didn't expect it to jump all the way to 6. I didn't think CJ Stroud was worth that many points. I do agree with you that it's too much. It's a situation where the Bills, sometimes they show up and look like a Super Bowl team, and then sometimes they just throw up an egg like they did versus the Dolphins and the Falcons. I lean towards laying the points with Buffalo, but these Thursday primetime games, short rest, you never want to lay that many points on the road. If I had to choose in a pick'em contest, I would lay with Buffalo just because I think Houston's not good at all. I've been fading the Texans all season long. I took their under win total at under 8.5. I don't think they're going to win the division. I don't think they're going to make the playoffs. Buffalo needs to win. They're chasing New England just like they chased Miami 2 years ago. They need to win this game if they have any shot at winning the division, so I'm leaning towards the Bills in this one.
Yeah, I'm not even sure that point change was directly a result of the Stroud Mills news. I think that was probably anticipated to some degree by the books when they set the line in the first place. Because, I mean, I just can't imagine the line moving that much as a result of Davis Mills is a decent backup quarterback, especially as it relates to CJ Stroud. We'll get back to football in a second. David Bearman, we got a lot of NBA to cover. You want to talk about BJ Edgecombe?
Yeah, I had this prop the other night on Monday. I had him over 3.5 assists. He hit that with no problem with 6. We're going to go a little bit further tonight. We're going to take over 23.5 in his points, rebounds, and assists combo bet. His usage is way up with the 76ers dealing with injuries to Joel Embiid, Oubre, and Paul George. When they're not on the court, when those three are gone, Edgecombe is averaging 29.3 points, rebounds, and assists per 36 minutes of action. His last 2 games, he's totaled 26 and 28. In this matchup, they played each other 11 days ago. He had 22 PRA, which is a little bit less than the number, but Joel Embiid and Oubre played in that game. So without them, his usage goes up. He only has 2 turnovers in the last 109 minutes, so he's not turning over the ball. And most of his shots, at 83% of his shots, are occurring either inside 10 feet or beyond the arc. This is a high total game at 233.5. I expect it to be high pace, and I expect Edgecombe to get over 23.5 points, rebounds, and assists.
All right, we got BJ Edgecombe over 23.5 PRA. And Mikey B, I know you've got a couple of NBA plays for us. Okay, let me drop the – oh, wow, Buckets, you look great. You look so much better. How did you fix things?
I just keep unplugging stuff and plugging stuff back in. Do I sound okay too? Are we back 100%?
I think you sound fine. David, this feels like the old blow in the cartridge and put it back in situation.
Absolutely. That's a trick that everybody loves to do. And I showed it to my kids about 3 weeks ago when I pulled the old Nintendo out, and they thought I was crazy.
That's when video games were their best. Golden era.
Absolutely.
Can I say for the chat, put your favorite, some of you will not be old enough for this. Put your favorite Nintendo game in the chat. And if you're listening to this show after the fact, or even if you're listening now, put it in the YouTube comments. Your favorite Nintendo game of all time, or maybe your top 3, however you want to do it. Put it in the YouTube comments, but go ahead and feel free to put it in the chat as well. All right, I'm going to drop the bombshell before we get to more picks. You guys ready? Is everybody sitting down? MVP. You can find this at major books at 80-1. Lamar Jackson is plus 8,000 to win the MVP. Let me make the case. This team was 2-5. Lamar Jackson comes back. This team is all of a sudden 5-5. Next up for the Baltimore Ravens, after this 3-game win streak, 4 out of the next 5 games are at home. Okay, so we're building a narrative here. They've got the Jets, probably a win. Then they've got the Bengals. This is important because they've got the Bengals on prime time. We know how primetime games can sometimes affect the MVP voters. That'll be 5 in a row once they knock off the Bengals, if they knock off the Bengals. Next up, you've got the Steelers at home. Then you go at Cincinnati. And then here's an important part. You get the Patriots at home. So now you're going up against Drake May, an MVP candidate, one of the top 2 MVP candidates as it stands right now, at home, and you get a chance to knock him off. At that point, you've won 8 in a row. You close at Green Bay and you close at home against Pittsburgh, or I should say you close at Pittsburgh. Now, okay, so what's happening there? You win 9 or 10 games in a row. Again, this is an 80-1 number, but you're probably asking yourself, well, what about Matt Stafford? Matt Stafford's pretty important here because he's the leader in the clubhouse right now to win the MVP. Okay, so while all this is happening, Stafford probably, not injured. He's probably going to be fine. And in week 15 and 16, he gets the Lions and then he gets the Seahawks. Here's the important part. Not only can he lose both of those games potentially, but that Seahawks game is in Seattle and it's in prime time. So in the midst of Lamar Jackson rattling off 9 or 10 wins in a row, potentially, you've got Matt Stafford looking bad on primetime television as Lamar Jackson is chasing down his 3rd MVP, that same MVP award that some people think was stolen from him last year. You got a Baltimore Ravens defense that wins 9 out of their last 10, if not 10 out of their last 10, while you see Stafford stumble maybe 1 or 2 games in a row on primetime. You see Baltimore beat Drake May's Patriots. All of a sudden, 80-1 becomes 4-1 pretty quickly. That's my argument, counselors. What do you think? Danny Brasco, I'm going to go to you first.
Dude, you look at his stat line because you mentioned the narrative of that MVP was stolen from him last year. He had 40 touchdowns, 4 interceptions, something like that, and all 4 interceptions bounced off his receivers' hands and into the defensive backs. Look at his stat line now. It's not quite that. Obviously, he's missed some time, but he has like a similar ratio. I think he's only thrown 1 interception this season. So if they run the table, if they come back and win the AFC North, if they become contenders and everyone all of a sudden fears Baltimore and it's on the back of some video games by Lamar Jackson, he absolutely has a shot. I love this sprinkle.
David, I'm not saying this is going to happen. What I'm saying is at 80-1, and some books have it at like 50-1, which I still think is a decent number, by the way. But at 80-1, 75-1, this number is too long. This is a narrative award, and this is a Baltimore Ravens team that has a ton of home games, a primetime game, and an opportunity to knock off some MVP candidates along the way. I just think this number is way too long.
If I'm sitting in the jury box while you're giving the case, I'm shaking my head the entire time because it makes complete sense. The narrative's there, the number's there at 80. I just think it's too late. And yes, they've started the winning streak. I was at the Miami game. They won not because of Lamar. I know he had 4 touchdowns, although 3 of them were about 3 yards and 3-yard passes. They didn't win because of him versus Cleveland the other day. He was horrible in that. So 2 of their 4 wins were despite Lamar. If he puts up the video game numbers that we know he can do, I think the narrative goes in your favor. And they're going to win games. They're going to win the AFC North, and they're going to be a threat. I just think it's a little too late, him having missed a couple of games, him having not been we haven't seen Lamar Jackson run since he's been back from the hamstring injury. Add to the fact that your stuff about Matt Stafford, who I have a big bet on, is accurate with what they're doing late in the season. I'm more worried about the guy in the AFC, Drake May and Josh Allen, because that New England schedule isn't getting any more difficult. Now, whether we think he's MVP or not, he's putting up the numbers and they're winning for a team that had no business winning 12, 13 games. The narrative there, to me, speaks stronger than Lamar Jackson, but I absolutely can see the path with it being 80-1. But you're going to need more than Matt Stafford to fall off. You're going to need Drake May and the Patriots to lose a few games they shouldn't lose. Maybe Buffalo wins that division despite Josh Allen, and they don't want to give it to Josh Allen again because he shouldn't have won it last year. That's your best case scenario. But as it stands now, Stafford and May, I think, are way too far ahead of Lamar, but 80-1 is 80-1. It's not minus 110, so I get where you're coming from.
Yeah, I mean, listen, things changed. Like 2 weeks ago, we thought the Chiefs were going to win the Super Bowl because they were fully back. Or 3 weeks ago, like narratives change so quickly, particularly with the MVP award. We see it with the Coach of the Year award as well, where we're like, oh, this guy's going to win. And then 3 weeks later, the team has a downturn. We can't look at the Patriots right now and be like, oh, this is the team the rest of the season. We can assume that to be true, but I think there's some stumbling blocks that we may not see with some of these young teams with young quarterbacks. So again, Lamar Jackson, the counting stats aren't good. The play isn't very good, but 4 weeks from now, we might forget all about that. So it's just something to consider. Let's get to a BetMGM promo. And Mikey B, I want to get to your picks. We got some soccer questions we need to get to, a ton of stuff still to get to, including a Thursday night football pick from me. BetMGM account holders will receive a college football odds boost. Just make a college football bet for tonight's game and score extra winnings if your bet hits. I also want to remind everybody, we've got that week 13, or I should say week 12 contest coming back. Splash Sports is sponsoring another $1,000 up for grabs. Again, this is real cash, and it's real easy to sign up because it's free. Go to splashsports.com/early edge. All you need to do once you get to splashsports.com/early edge is pick 13 NFL games against the spread for week 12. That's it. You'll designate one best pick that's worth double points if you win it. The top prize is $250 in cash, and we're paying out the top 50 finishers, so you don't have to be perfect to win. We had a 5-way tie for first place. We announced those winners yesterday. Everyone that was in here last week, you're already in Splash Sports, right? It took you probably 60 seconds, if not 30, to sign up. So just make sure you're in it this week and bring some friends along. Let's get to 1,000 so we can do this next week and have free money on the table for weeks to come. SportsLine pick, Villanova. We're going to college basketball, the Big East. Villanova, minus 11.5 at minus 105, says Bruce Marshall. A lot more college basketball, maybe some college football coming up on that SportsLine site. So want you to make sure, if you're a member, you're checking that out. All right, we got to get to NBA picks, a Thursday night football pick. We still got to get to UFC and your questions, which hopefully you're putting in the chat right after this message from our partners.
Only CBS Sports can bring you big time during the heart of Saturday afternoons. It's big time.
It's big time. It's big time. It's big time.
On CBS and streaming on Paramount Plus.
All right, we've got a question in the chat. Liddy says, Ben, do you have to upload docs to register? I assume you're talking about the Splash Sports contest. And no, I'm pretty sure it takes 30 seconds to register. Somebody can maybe, because we had over 600 in the contest last week, maybe somebody in the chat can help Liddy out there, because I don't want to. Go ahead, Mikey B.
Yeah, I signed up last week. It was very easy. Took maybe, like you said, maybe 30 seconds. I didn't have to get out tax returns or my social security card or put my mortgage statement in there. It's very easy.
And for the record, if you're already in Splash Sports and you don't want to use the link, you just want to go in and search CBS Commish, and then the contest that CBS sponsors will pop up, and you'll see the Pick'em contest there for everybody. So make sure everybody that's listening to this podcast or watching us live, get in that contest. Plenty of bragging rights, but again, money on the line, and it's free. David Bearman, you got to be in that contest too. Mikey B, talk to me about your 2 NBA props.
All right, so we know we love Eric Collins in Hornets games. So we're going to go to Pacers Hornets, Benedict Mathurin over 20.5 points. He recently missed 11 games with a toe injury. In his first game back Monday, he only played 25 minutes against the Pistons, still scored 25 points. The Pistons are the second best team in the league in terms of defensive rating. Mathurin's played 3 games this season. He scored at least 25 points in all of them. We talked about that one game against the Pistons. Another one was against the Thunder, who have the best defensive rating in the league. Now he gets the Hornets, who have the 8th worst. I love this over 20.5 points for Benedict Mathurin. And then going to that same 76ers game that David was talking about, I'm going to take Andre Drummond to record a double-double at minus 135. Talked about the injuries here. We got no Paul George, no Kelly Oubre. Joel Embiid is doubtful. Even backup setter Adem Bona is out. So we got Drummond here. He's the man. He started each of the last 4 games with Embiid out, 4 straight double-doubles, averaged 14.3 points and 13.5 rebounds, so they weren't particularly close. He didn't have cake matchups during that 4-game stretch either. He faced Jalen Duren once. He faced Zubas once. So now he gets the Raptors here, 30-plus minutes maybe coming his way, double-double for Andre Drummond.
All right, we got a double-double for Andre Drummond, and we got Benedict Mathurin over 20.5 points. Let's see if we have any NBA questions in the chat. Mikey B, thoughts on Ajay Mitchell over 15.5 points, minus 105?
Yeah, AJ Mitchell over 15.5 points, no problem. Be very careful. It's that they're playing the Pelicans. Big blowout potential here. Mitchell is not exactly a garbage time guy. He's become a very important player for them. So if it does get out of hand, he's not going to be the one that gets extra minutes. I'd rather avoid that game altogether.
Jason Pogwist, Mikey B, wants to know about your Bulls minus 2.5 on the road against Portland tonight. A later game, correct?
Yes, late game, tough to tell. Now, Kobe White is back for the Bulls. We know that much. What we don't know, what is the status of Drew Holiday for the Trailblazers? He didn't play last night. This is the second game of a back-to-back set for the Trailblazers. I can't make any decisions on this game until I know what Drew Holiday is playing. He's that important to the Trailblazers.
All right, we've got more NBA and at least one soccer question. Before we get there, though, and we always have Con Knipple questions in the chat, like multiple for some reason. So,
Yeah.
David, maybe I'll get your opinion with Mikey B on that. But we got to get to some UFC. Danny Brasco, I don't know if there was any reaction from you from UFC 322. I know it was a really big one with a couple, huge fights, co-mains. But either way, we've got a big weekend this weekend as well.
Yeah, we're going UFC Fight Night Qatar all the way across the world. UFC, very international. By the way, I watched several pronunciation videos. Did you know there's 4 different ways to say Qatar? Like the locals say gutter, but then if it's formal, it's Qatar. And then I'm just doing my best out.
Okay, so here's the thing: pronouncing UFC names is hard enough. And I was hosting primetime pregame last Friday on HQ, and we led with a UFC segment, and I was bracing myself for doing the thing I do with buckets all the time. And now we got to deal with it. We need an instructional guide, Danny Brasco. Maybe you're our guy for that. Anyway, continue.
Danny, when they announced the World Cup was going to be there, I was at ESPN, and we spent days trying to figure out what the correct pronunciation was. So we still have no decision.
Look, all you need is Buckets and I to come in there and give you some linguistics lessons. Whether we're going Eastern Europe or Dagestan, we got you covered. But UFC 322, brief reactions here. I went up on the card overall. 1 and 3 on the EE picks because I kind of brought some risky ones. I wanted to give you guys main and co-main picks before I left for Chicago on Wednesday. But if I had it my way and some more time to think it through, I would have brought some of my props that hit in the Discord. We had a plus 600 submission bet. We had a couple finish bets in the Discord, so be sure you're over there. And I know Gipper is Japan. They also hit some nice bets. Carlos Prates, amazing knockout that I know Japan cashed on. So we had a good time in the Discord cashing 322. Onward we march. UFC Qatar. And 2 picks for you guys today. Main event, Dan Hooker is taking on Arman Tsarukyan. I mean, look, we all love Dan the Hangman Hooker. He's a fan favorite. He's an all-action fighter. He's been in some classic brawls, but this is a bad stylistic matchup for him. Tsarukyan is a minus 550 favorite. I think he's going to get Hooker out of there, but I'll play it on both sides. Give me the under 3.5 rounds at minus 128, because if there is a chance that Hooker pieces him up, catches him with a big shot, then, well, we get the finish either way, but I just don't see this one going halfway past the 4th round. Hooker is coming off multiple hand surgeries. He busted his hand open. It didn't quite take the first time around. They had to remove some more scar tissue, so he's been away for a while. But, I just don't think he can create the brawl and the nasty affair that he's going to need to here to beat Arman Tsarukyan, a guy who seems like he's coming to the peak of his game. He's got an excellent grappling game. He's a much improved kickboxer, too. He's very explosive. I think he'll be more than competitive on the feet. But if he shoots a double leg, blast Dan Hooker to the floor, I don't think Hooker's getting back up. And Tsarukyan showed he can posture up, throw a nasty ground and pound. He doesn't have any submission wins on his pro MMA career, but he's been competing in some grappling tournaments as of late. And he just arm triangled Benson Henderson and rear naked choke Patricky Pitbull, 2 veteran fighters in the game. Grappling tournaments, albeit, but just shows he's getting more dangerous. And I think you might see the best version of Tsarukyan here. With a big win, he will stamp himself as the next title contender. And a lot of people thought before Islam Makhachev moved up to 170 pounds, Tsarukyan was the best potential matchup for him with his skill set. So I think you're going to see just a wide gap on the ground when Tsarukyan takes him down and just dominates the fight. I'll probably take Tsarukyan by knockout as well at plus 150. I think the ground and pound is imminent, but I like the under 3.5 to get both sides there. And then another fight, the odds aren't quite out yet, but I'm projecting some decent plus money, maybe plus 130 range I'm seeing from some of the offshore sites that are projecting the odds. Give me Luke Riley by knockout, and we'll update this when that comes through. I'll make sure Ben gets the proper odds there when we show the recap screen, I guess, on Friday. But, man, new favorite fighter unlocked. This guy, Riley, perhaps had one of the best fights in Cage Warriors history against Alexander Luth. Go back and watch that. Holy smokes, what a fight. This guy has insane durability. He's got great pressure striking, volume. He's a guy that will walk through the fire, move forward at all costs, and eventually just melt you. He has incredible self-belief. It's it's kind of that dynamic when you see someone walking forward, taking your best shot, and you realize as his opponent, there's nothing I can do to get this guy out of here. And you start to see them mentally break and their posture starts to wilt. That's when Riley takes over. He throws crazy combinations. He will piece you up against the cage. And I think they gave him a perfect the matchmakers gave him a perfect opponent in Bogdan Grad, a guy that throws the kitchen sink at his opponents. He throws spinning attacks, flying attacks, mixes in his grappling. But as the fight carries on, he starts to labor a little bit. And a guy like Riley, you just cannot labor against. So if Riley defends the initial grappling onslaught, he's going to piece Grad up. Grad's pretty hittable. Both guys very tough. I'm expecting Really awesome fight. But man, watch that fight that I was mentioning with Cage Warriors with Riley. He gets up with the Joker bloody smile after being knocked down in a round and just joy on his face. Pain, blood rushing, pure joy. This guy is an animal in there. Bet him by knockout when the odds come out.
All right, a couple of UFC picks for you. Let's get to some chat questions. Buckets. Philip Terrassa says, we like MUFC versus Wolfsburg. Both teams to score, plus Arsenal versus Real Madrid. Both teams to score at plus 150.
We do like that, Sia, and because of that, I actually want to add a second play. So I want to shout out Philip there, and I also just want to say that in that Arsenal versus Real Madrid matchup, I'd like to make an official play, Ben, if that's okay with you, on both teams to score and over 2.5 goals. That is also even money at plus 100 right now. This Arsenal team are the reigning champions, or the reigning champions of the Champions League. They were incredible defensively last year, but this year the defense just isn't really there. They were up 2-0 against Bayern Munich and lost 3-2, conceding 3 second-half goals. And this Real Madrid side put up 6 against Roma. This is a team that is pressing nonstop, and even though Arsenal is the better side, I don't think they can stop anyone from scoring right now. So I love what Philip said, but I also really like BTTS and over 2.5 as a same game parlay as well.
All right, we've got to go to our standard Con Knipple questions. Now, we have a question about his over 5.5 rebounds, but Big Cheesy, who was super sharp in the chat, says Con Knipple over 24.5 PRA minus 130. David, I'm going to go to you first. You probably don't know this, but a lot of Con Knipple fans in the early edge chat. Any thoughts on Con Knipple tonight?
I like the way he's been playing recently, and I would take his over 24.5 points, rebounds, and assists. I would like to ask why there's so many of these in the chat.
I have no idea.
He's just a big fan of the show, or what?
It's just a new phenomenon. We can't explain it. Mikey B, any thoughts on Con Knipple tonight?
Yeah, I think the Flying Knipples watched the show. If you've seen that story about his family and all that, yeah, I would lean over there too. Brandon Miller is still out. All the Knipple fans in there, just keep in mind, Brandon Miller is close to returning, and when he is, that's going to deal a blow to Knipple's minutes. So ride the gravy train while you can. He's not going to fade into oblivion, but he is going to see his minutes come down a little bit.
I apologize for not getting to everybody's picks, but I want to give Day Breakdawn a shout out. He says, good college basketball bet, 2-legger, money line, Indiana State and Oklahoma State. Again, money line at plus 126. Okay, so I think Chris Kish had mentioned earlier in the chat that I think his sister is having surgery. He wanted some well wishes. So let's wish Chris and specifically his sister, I think it was his sister, well wishes. And then Nathan Pike says, Mikey B, it's my 30th birthday. Who's getting 30 points tonight?
Yeah, first of all, happy birthday, Nathan. I saw that. I wanted to bring that up. So the chalk answer here is Tyrese Maxey against the Raptors with so many guys out. But Nathan, you're coming into a new decade here. We got to try something fun. We want to have a real party. Benedict Mathurin to score 30-plus points is plus 446. That's some good cake money. You can get a triple-decker cake. You could get a cake and cupcakes. You could go crazy. Let's try Benedict Mathurin at plus 446.
Wow. 30 plus for Benedict Mathurin. Mikey B, thoughts on Reed Shepherd, 11.5 at minus 120.
Yeah, I don't mind that. No Tari Eason for the Rockets. The Cavaliers are a pretty good defensive team, but not great. I would lean over on that, yeah.
There was a comment from Tony Brooks that's just so incredibly ridiculous, as if the Splash Sports contest, the free money wasn't enough. So there was like criticism there. So I don't know. I don't know what people are. It's just so weird to me that people have comments like that. Again, do not forget to join splashsports.com/early edge and get some free money and get some bragging rights as everybody has been piling in to that NFL Pick'em contest. Buckets, go ahead.
I got a question for Mike. Mike, you said that you would take Benedict Mathurin at plus 440. Would you also take him at plus 550 on MGM?
Yes, that's even better odds. Look at it.
Okay,
Buckets shopping for me. Thank you, Buckets. Look at this
Gotcha,
guy.
buddy.
He's a little blurry. He comes out of the mist to tell us there's better odds available on BetMGM.
He knew the answer too. Is plus 550 good?
Yeah,
I'm kind of new to this. Would
High
you
score, is
rather
that
take
good?
550?
And the pronunciation was great too. Did you get that on the?
Oh, we got it. We got
Yeah.
it. But yeah, so BetMGM, not all the time. A lot of the time has some really great odds. So BetMGM, make it legendary. Did we miss any questions, Danny or David? Did you see anything in the chat that you needed to respond to before we get to the recap screen? David, I'll go to you first.
No, the only thing that I saw when running up there is they're saying because the Bills may have a lead tonight, being 6-point favorite. Would they run a lot with Cook? And listen, they might. They absolutely might. But at the same time, the Texans have that really, really good rush defense. And listen, Breece Hall, they gave the ball to Breece Hall nonstop in the first half last week, and he still didn't get to his number against the Patriots. I think Josh Allen's going to use his legs a lot too. And it's going to be one of those close Thursday night games that you could Cook get over 75. He could. But this is a defense that has not allowed it once all year, and they have been behind many teams this year that have run the ball a lot. They just don't give up. I mean, they're only giving up 3.6 yards per rush on the season, which is one of the top 3 in the NFL.
So, Brasco, before I go to you, and there might not be any UFC follow-up, but I do want you to follow up on this, and then we'll get to the recap screen. My pick, my Thursday night football pick, which I'm saving for the very end of the show for some reason. It's Woody Marks. I'm going back to him. If you watch the prop show, you know I was on Woody Marks over 62.5 rushing yards last week against the Titans. Now, I probably should have gone with the rushing attempts because the whole argument there was that there's been a changing of the guard at the running back position. We saw it the week prior to some degree. We certainly saw it last week. I think the problem and the reason I lost that bet is because that Titans rush defense, they've been bad against some teams, but they've been okay against others. And frankly, they were getting some reinforcements back. So it probably was better for me to go with the volume rather than the efficiency. In this case, though, I think you could go volume, but his rushing attempt prop, I think, is 15.5, which is quite a bit. It makes me like the rushing yards all that much more. So if David is right, and if most people are right about the Houston Texans defense keeping this game relatively close, then we know Woody Marks is going to get a lot of run, specifically with the rush attempts. And if that happens against this Bills defense, it's allowing 5.4 yards per carry. I see Woody Marks getting 60, maybe 65, maybe 70, maybe 80. Again, it depends on how close this game is for 4 quarters, but I suspect it's going to be pretty close, and I suspect we're going to see a lot of Woody Marks in this game. So give me Woody Marks over 60.5 rushing yards. Put this in at SportsLine. It's still available at BetMGM at 60.5. Some books have this at 62 or 63.5. I would play it as high as 63.5, and then I would probably tap out at 64. Brasco, any response to that or any UFC questions before we get to the recap screen?
UFC, nothing too crazy. I see Japan said he likes Riley by decision, but he keeps insisting I showdown him. Guys, I told you I'm done with showdowns. Showdown someone else. You think I'm scared. I'm scared. He's scared. That isn't what. It's all good, man. I hope you win. They just love, pushing my buttons. So I gotta love it. But you know what? An underdog I was considering, the line's moving in his favor. Kyoji Horiguchi, plus 170, now plus 165. He's fighting Tagir Ulanbekov, who fights with the Khabib Nurmagomedov camp. But a lot of people kind of think he might be the weakling or the runt of that litter, so to speak. And I think Horiguchi could maybe fraud check him, so to speak. So I'm curious to see what Japan and Gippers think about Horiguchi as a dog this week. That's the only other thought I had.
All right. Well, I'll tell you, when it comes to Thursday night football, I do want to remind everybody that we're going to be leaning into that tomorrow morning on the early edge. And I do want to remind everybody, I put it in the chat, but for those of you listening to the podcast in the early afternoon, 6 o'clock tonight, we've got the early wedge where I will have some matchups for tomorrow morning. I want to give out a lean. You can find this over at DK. Matt Kuchar minus 130 over Jacob Bridgman in an 18-hole matchup. You got to look for 18-hole matchups. It's a lean for me as of now. It might be an official play by the time we get to 6 o'clock on the early wedge, but on this SportsLine YouTube channel, we'll give you our best bets for the RSM. David, how do we do? Will you come back?
I will absolutely come back if you'll have me. It was a lot of fun. I had enjoyed talking stuff with you guys, and Danny gets a freaking Emmy for those pronunciations nonstop. Yes. Like, you throw the name up there, and I'm best guess, and Danny just rolls it right off his tongue like he knows it. So, and hey, we're betting Women's Champions League. So what more could you ask for? Love it.
This is great stuff. As always, David, thank you. Mikey B, Buckets, and Brasco. Let's get to the recap screen and get everybody out of here. Woody Marks over 60.5 rushing yards, minus 111 for Thursday night football. And I'm throwing out just a little sprinkle, not a big deal, just a little sprinkle on Lamar Jackson MVP plus 8,000. Listen to the argument. If you're compelled, make the bet. If you're not compelled, no worries. But again, if you have a different opinion, put it in the YouTube comments. I'm curious where people are on this, if they're actually betting Stafford or Drake May or Josh Allen at plus 450. And don't forget, favorite Nintendo game all time. I need you to put that in the YouTube comments as well. Wolfsburg versus Man United. Wolfsburg over 1.5 team total at plus 100. And Buckets, do you mind? What was the other bet that you said you liked?
Arsenal versus Real Madrid, both teams to score, and over 2.5 at even money.
All right. Hooker versus Sarukian. Oh, I messed that up. What is it? What is it, Brasco?
Sarukian.
Sarukyan. Oh, I was close. Under 3.5 rounds, -128. And Luke Riley, that's easy. By KO. Benedict Matherman over 20.5 points, -123, says Mikey B. Also, Andre Drummond to record a double-double, -135. Then we go to David Bearman. He's back. James Cook under 74.5 rushing yards at -110. And BJ Edgecombe over 23.5 PRA, -110. We've got one SportsLine pick. It's Villanova, -11.5 at -105. That one, courtesy of Bruce Marshall. Liddy says, have a good day, y'all. A lot of good comments in the chat. Really appreciate everybody being in here. Steve Folkerth, Japan, Thunderstruck. Close us out, Danny Brasco. What you got?
There's no way I'm leaving without saying this. GoldenEye, Mario Party 2, NFL Blitz. Come on.
Buckets, have you ever...
Super
Go ahead,
Tecmo.
David.
I don't see you have any other answer but Super Tecmo Bowl.
Tecmo Bowl, double dribble. That's good. Mikey B?
Duck Hunt.
Oh, interesting. Interesting. Buckets, have you ever played a Nintendo? Do you know any Nintendo games?
That's the most insulting question you've ever asked me.
I thought it was for
I have multiple
people.
Nintendo related tattoos. So yes, any Legend of Zelda game, Donkey Kong 64, Super Mario Sunshine on the GameCube. We want to go old school. I like Duck Hunt with Mikey. That was disgusting, Sia.
Me not asking you guys in the middle of this show is straight up gross negligence on my part, because this is going to spur so many comments in the chat, and I should have done that earlier. I always do that. Contra's a good one, too. I do like Zelda, Contra, Double Dribble, Tecmo Bowl's a great one. Gosh, there's so many. We're leaving like 10 or 15 out, and people are going to...
What about Excite Bike? Anybody like Excite Bike?
NBA Jam?
Was that Nintendo? Yeah, that was, yeah. I feel like that's like an arcade game more than it is like a console game, but I could be wrong. Big Cheesy says College Slam. Never heard of that. All right. Oh, Mike Tyson's Punch Out. Oh, okay. Yeah, that's
Punch
top
Out. Good one.
That is a good one, Paul. Thank you very much. Jeff Stenberg says Punch Out. Steve Folkert's RBI Baseball was a really good one.
Ken Griffey Jr. 98. Ken Griffey Jr. 98 is the best baseball game ever made.
Okay, here's the problem. Richard Pierre loves the Excite Bike call. We could literally do this for another 30 minutes. These Wednesday shows are supposed to be a little bit shorter.
Nah.
Sorry, everybody.
You want me to? I have the Nintendo right there. You want me to go turn it on? We'll play a little Little League Baseball on it. Maybe some Excite Bike.
Down, left, right, select, start, or was it BA start, says Joe Everett. Oh, that is just epic. All right, we have to get out of here. I wish we could go a little bit longer. Super Smash Bros, says Saturnino. In the original Madden. Oh, shout out to the original Madden, says Thunderstruck. All right. Sia rage baiting the chat. Okay, we have to get out of here. I genuinely want to do this for another 20 minutes. I can't. We got to go. Thank you, Mikey B, David, Buckets, Danny Brasco, and of course, thank you, Ben, on the 1s and 2s and 6s and 7s. Ladies and gentlemen, have a great day. We'll see you tomorrow or maybe later tonight on the Early Wedge. We rest our case.